Hey guys, so this video is a little different, and I'm sorry if you can hear the kids playing. We're upstairs, they're playing in their rooms. Today's video is a little bit different, and I've been very hesitant to make this video. I didn't know if I wanted to talk about it or if I wanted to keep it personal, because I mean it is a personal matter. I don't share everything with you guys because we still need like some personal things in our life. But the more I thought about it and everything that I went to, I really want to tell you guys my story. There might be someone going through the exact same thing that I went through, or are going through the same thing as me, that you are not alone. I am going to start back in October of 2014. That's when we found out we were pregnant with this little man, with Noah. If you guys are new to my channel, we have 3 kids. We have Maya, Noah, and then Weston. Back in October of 2014, we had just gotten married in September. Knew we wanted another child, so we conceived Noah in October. Excited, we were happy, you know, just all those emotions. We went to our very first prenatal checkup. Everything was going good so far. Did the ultrasound, he was perfect. He had his little heartbeat, it was going strong. And then they did the pap smear that they usually do when you're pregnant. I had a pap smear when I was pregnant with Maya, and I had one after I had Maya. So it wasn't anything new to me. A couple days later, I got a phone call. I actually missed the phone call because we were getting ready to go out of town for New Year's. We were going up to my sister's house. Everything was done and ready. I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, I have a missed call from the clinic. That's kind of weird. So I listened to the voicemail. Nurse on the voicemail goes, you know, this is so-and-so from so-and-so clinic. We want you to call us back regarding some test results. And in my head, I'm like, what? Gage is like, well, maybe I have like a UTI or bladder infection I don't know about, or nothing like bad ever crossed my mind. I've always had good pap smears. I called the nurse back. This nurse, I wouldn't say she was rude, but she was not nice. She didn't consider or think about my feelings, and she basically says that my pap smear came back at normal and my doctor wants me in ASAP to get a colposcopy. Now, don't get confused with a colonoscopy. This is a colposcopy for your lady parts. Never heard of an abnormal pap smear just because I've never had one. Like, this was the first time I've ever heard of an abnormal pap smear. I asked the nurse, I was like, what does that mean? Like an abnormal pap smear, like something like the pap smear like went wrong? She goes, it means that the cells on your cervix have changed and it could be cervical cancer. And I'm like, what? Like, whoa. And I'm like, you're saying I have cancer? And she's like, no, I'm saying that the cells on your cervix have changed and it could possibly lead to cancer. Then I started panicking. I'm like, okay, well, schedule me an appointment ASAP, I guess. And the whole weekend I was paranoid, and I've always had anxiety around like my health. That's when it started, because of that one phone conversation. And we'll always remember that phone conversation because that's what triggered my health anxiety. I've always been a little paranoid, but like that's what triggered me thinking that everything is wrong with me. Colposcopies are safe during pregnancy. So I went and got a colposcopy done. It's basically like a pap smear, but they spray like a vinegar solution, I don't know the technical terms, on your cervix so the abnormal cells can show up and the doctor can see what's going on. Usually they don't recommend biopsies during pregnancy. It's not going to harm you or harm the baby, but playing around with the cervix during pregnancy is risky, as you guys know. But like I said, it won't cause, like my doctor said, it won't cause a miscarriage. It won't do any of that. It's just, you know, it's just not good to play around with the cervix. But the way that my cells were on the cervix, he wanted to take a biopsy, and they sent it off to pathology to see what's going on with the cells and where what stage they're at. When things are sent off to pathology, you don't get it in the next day. So the days leading up to the results, I was just an emotional wreck. I felt like I couldn't really enjoy the beginning of Noah's pregnancy because, okay, I'm gonna get emotional again. I feel like I couldn't really enjoy the beginning of Noah's pregnancy because I was just so anxious. The way I see it is Noah, like, it sounds so dramatic. It really does. But, like, I feel like Noah saved me because, like, if we would have waited till Maya was like 4 or 5, who knows what those cells developed into. To get the results back, my cells were moderate. So it was, I'm going to throw some medical terms out at you, but it was CIN2, so CIN2. So it was a moderate change. Now, there's low, moderate, and then severe. So CIN1, CIN2, CIN3, and then cancer. These are all precancerous cells, by the way. So I had moderate precancerous cells on my cervix. The doctor basically said with low and moderate, they usually wait till after birth. Usually when you give birth, the cells can fall off, come off. I don't know, do something. Your cells do something when you give birth. Sometimes it doesn't work for everybody, but you can't do any treatment while you're pregnant. You cannot. No matter if it's high grade, low grade, moderate grade, you can't do any treatment until you're done, like until you've given birth. Birth to Noah. I honestly, towards the end of the pregnancy, I kind of forgot about it and, you know, just enjoyed my time with Noah. I forgot about it. I went to my 6-week checkup. I had still forgotten about it, and they did a pap smear. Sure enough, like a week later, I get a phone call, and it is the nurse again. She goes, I'm calling to let you know that your pap smear came back at normal and the doctor wants you in ASAP. So I go back in. I go through another huge panic freak out mode because I totally forgot, because I was just in this like newborn awe, just gave birth to our son, and I went back to panic again. Plus being postpartum and your hormones trying to like go back to normal, it was not a good mixture. There was a lot of down, depressed days. I went in, Gage went with me. I remember the days leading up to the colposcopy, I was very down. Like we didn't do anything. I was just in a very depressed stage. I remember the day before, I was just in such a depressed stage that like we ate dinner in bed. Like I just couldn't even get out of bed. Gage goes with me to the second colposcopy, and they do the biopsy because they wanted to check the cells. They said, we'll call you when the results are in. And so the time leading up to the results was also a very depressing time for me. I didn't know what to expect at this point. They call me and they tell me that it is still moderate, which is good, the CIN2. And basically he said that I can give my body 6 months, 6 to 8 months to get rid of it itself, and he wants me to come back in 6 to 8 months. And then they'll check again, and if it hasn't like healed itself, then we will do treatment. Well, life gets in the way, whatever. Then got pregnant with Weston. I didn't make it to my 6 to 8 month recheck. Like I said, life got in the way. I ended up pregnant. I was like, well, we'll just have to get the pap smear. I went in, got the pap smear done with Weston. I had a feeling that nothing had changed. I had a feeling I was gonna get a call. So I went in, got my pap smear. We saw Weston, we saw the little baby, did everything well. couple days later, it was different. The nurse called me and she said, I need you to come in for a colposcopy. She wants to see you ASAP because there's a significant change in your cells. It was no longer moderate. It was no longer SIN 2. It was now high grade SIN 3, 1 below cancer. So if it would have gotten any worse, it would have been cervical cancer. So I went into full-blown panic mode again. If you guys can imagine, like, I've been already dealing with anxiety and all that, and then I get told that it's no longer moderate SIN 2, it's now high grade SIN 3. Remember from when I was pregnant with Noah, there's no treatment during pregnancy. I had to wait until after I gave birth. And she did the colposcopy again, and she definitely did a biopsy because it was high grade. And I get the phone call back that it was in fact the high grade SIN 3. She told me that I will for sure need treatment when I give birth to Weston. I will have to come back for a colposcopy every trimester of my pregnancy to make sure that it is not turning into cervical cancer because it was such a high grade. Basically, the way the nurse put it is from a 1 and a 10 being cancer, mine was at like an 8. Like, I was high up there. So I had colposcopies every trimester with Weston. You guys probably didn't know that, but I did. Weston's pregnancy was also very hard, and there was a lot of times I would cry because I'd feel like I'm so close to cervical cancer and I can't do anything about it. I can't treat it, but in the end I get a beautiful baby. I give birth to Weston and I know that I have to go back in to get treatment. If you guys are wondering what treatment is, it is the LEEP procedure, L-E-E-P, the LEEP procedure. Basically, they burn or scrape or they do something on your cervix. My doctor told me it is the same treatment they would do for like a stage 1 cervical cancer. So no matter what the outcome was, this would be the treatment to do. I knew that was coming. I knew I wouldn't even be getting a pap smear or anything like that. I'd be going straight into this surgical procedure. All the colposcopies throughout the pregnancy, each trimester, each was taken a biopsy, and the waiting was always the hardest because I'm like, what if this is the time that it turned into cancer? What if this is the time that it turned into cancer? Because it was so high grade, it was right there. So then the waiting for 8 weeks, I had to wait, no, 7 weeks postpartum. When I went in to the clinic that one time, as you guys saw, Gage went with me, that was when my treatment was. That was when my procedure was. It was wasn't painful, but it wasn't comfortable either. She got all the precancerous cells out and sent them to pathology, obviously. So, it was done on a Wednesday. They called me on a Monday. I remember when the nurse called me, I was so scared to answer the phone. Which the nurse told me was that she got all the high grade cells out, did not progress to cervical cancer, and my margins were negative. Now, negative and positive margins mean, negative means that the cells didn't spread. Positive means that the precancer cells spread and went up more into my body, so like higher up on the cervix or into the you know, higher up. So I was really hoping for negative. Like, you don't want it to spread. So she told me that the margins came back negative. It didn't, the precancerous cells did not spread, and that the treatment worked. Everything, all the negative, abnormal precancerous cells were now out, were gone. She told me I do not need to come back in for a year. And dealing with this stress, this anxiety, so many pap smears, so many colposcopies, especially with my pregnancy with Weston. I had four 4 colposcopies with Weston, and then a treatment, and 2 colposcopies with Noah, 1 before and then 1 after. So that's 6 colposcopies since 2014. I wanted to make this video to remind you ladies, go get your pap smear done. Go. It doesn't matter how old you are. Go get it done. 22 years old when I had my first abnormal pap smear. It does not matter how old you are. You need to get your pap smear done. If I would have waited, I probably would have ended up with cervical cancer. If we would have waited to have children after Maya's pap smears were completely normal. So if we would have waited until now to have a baby, who knows where that would be. I could possibly have had cervical cancer at a young age. That is my story. If you guys have gone through something similar, leave a comment down below. I would love to know your story. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story. I really appreciate it. I will talk to you in our next video.